Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Unmute Yourself with Rhonda Khan. Today's topic is strong leaders, lukewarm speakers. Yes, yes, I said it. Yes, I said it. Let me know where you're coming from in the chat. Let me know what city, where you're at, what you're doing right now on this March Tuesday. I cannot believe we're in March. Thank you so much for coming. I'm going to dive in. You just see. Yes. Okay. So I have a double. All right. Thank you so much for coming to this live. All right. Today, friends, I am calling in the people who train and support leaders. Maybe you are a leader yourself who feels like you need the training. Maybe you are a person who is very observant, but I'm speaking to my friends in human resources, talent development, leadership development, learning and development, all the executives that really want to support themselves and other leaders. I'm calling you in. Come on in and let's have a conversation. Let's have a chit chat. Let's have a chat. Now, if you don't know me, my name is Rhonda Khan, and I am the CEO and principal consultant of Simply Speech Solutions, where we create bespoke training solutions to help leaders own and activate their unique voices. We've partnered with companies for over 8 years, and today I'm going to talk about a theme that I have seen so often, and I really want us to address it. So come with me and let's do some imagining. Imagine this. You, you are a leader. A leader can be anybody, right? It doesn't mean that it's your profession or your role or title, but you are a leader who has worked for years in multiple companies, in a current company, and you are up for promotion. And congratulations to you. You got promoted. You get to this senior leadership role. Let's say you worked hard, we celebrate you, and then you all of a sudden find yourself speaking all the time, not necessarily doing a keynote all the time, but you are speaking during the majority of your day. Yes. So you are in a meeting or leading many meetings. You are suddenly presenting all the time. You are being called to do external presentations and external speaking. You're being called to be on this panel, be on that panel, potentially moderate this panel. You're being sent to this conference and asked to do a breakout session on pick the topic that your company aligns you with. You are literally being more visible than you have ever been in all your years of work. Now, you being the go getter and the talented person that you are, you're very well deserving of this promotion. You go for it. You're like, hey, I got this. I can do this. But you're noticing that this is something that is not necessarily the easiest for you. Maybe you make mistakes here and there. Maybe you're not the strongest as you thought you would, or maybe you're stronger than you thought. Who knows? But this load of intense communication that you haven't been doing, you're all of a sudden doing. Okay. Who knows what I'm talking about? Let me know in the chat about this. If you know somebody, or if it's been you or some people that you work with that have had this shift, because this is what I have been seeing in my work, where whether it's some of my individual clients or clients that I've worked with through my cohort programs, or I partner with companies to create a training program for a set amount of people, that they say this, where all of a sudden I'm being asked 5 minutes ahead of time to lead this meeting and to know my talking points and to be ready in front of 50, 60 people in leadership across the global, across the globe, or I'm being brought into this client meeting and having to just deliver and represent the company, or I'm having to do all of these things. And while I know you're up for the challenge, it's a lot on you. And did anybody tell you you would be doing all of this? You may have thought maybe I'll be a little bit more visible, but did anybody tell you that it would be this much? My guess is probably not. And this is where I think we need to lean forward and lean into this, because what happens is all you check every box to be this leader that you're supposed to be, except for the public speaking communication box. And not saying that you're not a good communicator already, because you probably are, you wouldn't be put into leadership. But at this level, in this forward facing space, you may have not been as prepared as you wanted to be. Now, I'm not blaming anybody just yet, but I want us to really think about how come we don't set our leaders up if we're doing all of these different types of training programs. And I love a good leadership training program. I've been a part of some, but I'm noticing that many of these leadership programs are leaving this part out about public speaking and communication, and not recognizing that there's this huge leap in communication load, but they're not supporting you for it. Pick your leadership program. There's some really good ones out here, and let me know that I've missed some. But in these programs, what I'm finding is that people are not prepared to speak publicly, and they're not giving that. They're doing what you call how to be more assertive as a leader, how to navigate difficult conversations, all important things, all good things, all things that we do include in our programs as well. But they leave out the fact that you need some foundational skills to be able to deliver. Like, how do you command a room? How do you navigate storytelling and include that into how you speak? How do you craft a talk in a very short period of time, which a lot of leaders end up doing? A cohort that I'm running right now, and this leader did a great job, but we asked him to speak on behalf of the organization and just to do a welcome for the cohort. And he was able to come in and have talking points and be able to deliver and do an introductory speech. Do you know that that's the type of stuff that you will be having to do, and be having to represent your team, your company? That kind of stuff. Do you have the skill set for that? Do you have the ability to do that and feel confident while you're doing it? Are you able to be intentional? Remember last month we talked about being intentional and be able to inject those things. Often not. And the statistics don't lie. 75% of leaders, according to a recent study, do not feel prepared to speak publicly as they should. That's a huge amount. That's a huge amount, everybody. Let me know how you feel in the chat. Now, I'm not going to lie. LinkedIn dropped out for me a little bit, and I didn't want it to disrupt my stream because the message is the most important thing. But I want to know, I want to hear from you. I'm going to log back in. How are you feeling about this conversation? How is this conversation resonating with you about not about being, a speaker, a strong speaker, and not and a strong leader, and not being lukewarm? Yeah. So let's continue. So this is the challenge that I've seen people face, and they're not being received for the goodness that they, because that speaking piece is not there. And I think that's where we need to support leaders even more. There were many clients that I've worked with, and they've gotten feedback from leadership. And months into a new promotion, or maybe years into a role, they will call forward with this particular skill and said, hey, you really need to be a better storyteller. You really need to get your presence. We're not feeling your presence as strongly. We're not hearing you communicate as well. We're not feeling like we're confident that you can represent us and be sent out. And sometimes that can be incredibly crushing for a leader, because they're like, I've done everything right. I've checked the boxes. But then I'm looking at the organization and I'm looking at the training team and I'm like, how come you didn't prepare her? How come you didn't prepare them? What's going on? And there are ways that we can support them with that, because what you're creating is insecurities that they don't need and they don't have, and you're limiting how well they can be as leaders, because they are thinking, oh, I'm nervous to now speak in front of people, or I'm nervous to that I'm going to be criticized for something, or yes, I'll show up and do it, but I know it's not going to be as well. And so the great companies will be like, okay, I recognize this in this leader. Let me go get them some support. Let me go encourage them to get some training. You call somebody like me or one of my colleagues, and you're saying, hey, we need to support this person. We need to get them keynote ready, get them panel ready, get them internal communications ready, all those kinds of things, right? Great, good, wonderful. But most companies don't do that. Most companies are like, figure it out yourself. Many, not all. But I'm thinking we can be even more proactive to support these people, because they represent your organization. They are the face of your organization. They are the spokespeople. We can go backwards and think, before we even promote this person, How can we support them in their leadership journey? How can we make them stronger? How can we not make them lukewarm? You might be wondering what I'm talking about with lukewarm. If you've been my client or you've been in one of my sessions or anything, you know what I mean. You know I do not enjoy lukewarm. It doesn't mean that you need to show up and be like, presence, and I am here, and I am, whatever you have falsely learned. Uh, I might throw out some terms that may be like a old school kind of patriarchal way to just show up and be a leader. Not like that. But what I'm saying is we are disconnected from your message and disconnected from your presence that we don't feel enough of what you're intended to do. And a lot of that we can talk about last month's session of how to do that. Maybe that'll be a next session where we really talk about how not to be lukewarm. But you are not injecting the things that are necessary of you and being intentional and being able to know your style and know your strengths to be able to use those to your advantage. And so often you're just doing what is required. This sometimes looks like I have an agenda, I'm going to read the agenda, I'm going to deliver it, I'm going to say this, and the meeting is done. And there could be so many more incredible, captivating ways for you to show up that you not only elevate your position, but you elevate the goals, the organization, the initiatives, everything. And that's the opposite of being lukewarm. We want you to be as strong as a speaker as you are as a leader. So, so, so I have so much to say about this. I want companies to grow. I want people to think about leadership in a different way. I want them to incorporate public speaking and more advanced communication skills. And I want you to include this into your training programs and training initiatives. If you're having like a 12-month leadership training, 9-month, all of those kinds of things, this needs to be a part of it. And I'm gonna give you 4 strategies and ways to go about it. Okay. First, you want to train before you promote. You want to train before you promote. You want to think about, okay, what are the skills that the people who are not in this position, but the people at the level prior, or even when they first began, you want to think about how can we build and sculpt and cultivate these skills within people so we don't have to instantly do a training when they're ready to be right in front of us or right in front of and representing the company. So you want to think, okay, I know this position needs this. How can we provide a program before they even get there or some support for that? Before you do that, you probably want to identify those who would need more support, or you do this in tandem. If you already are noticing something, you need to really have this in your awareness instead of waiting until the last minute when this person potentially makes a mistake or they potentially struggle with something and you have them and it's impacting their confidence. Before we even get there, you want to just recognize, okay, make your list. Okay, we're going to work on this with this person and that person and this person. I know you have a lot going on. I don't, you're going to be like, we're so busy and we have all these different things. But let me tell you, this is as important as all those things. Because if they misrepresent themselves and misrepresent the company, it's coming back to how did we support them and how did we get here. So you really need to make that list and identify those individuals before you pursue that need. The next step would be to obviously provide them with support. You can incorporate these skills in what you already have. So if you already have an initiative in place, you bring somebody like me in, or you figure out how to incorporate these specific skills. Like maybe your organization has a specific set of things that they need to work on as far as speaking, or like, okay, we know that they're going to need to be, this is the big one, they're going to be speaking to media a lot. So we're going to put media training before they even get there. We need everybody at this level to have media training. So when they're just thrown into this higher level executive role, they're media trained and they're ready to go. Or maybe it's in meetings that are different, whatever those communication needs are, we're going to include that into an initiative or program you already have, or create one, or bring one in. And obviously, I'm a person that does that. And another final step would be to continue to give opportunities to show up. So there are some organizations, and I'll tell a story about one that people really want these opportunities to be more visible. They want to be sent out for the panels or the big stage events or, the global events, and they want to be the one that's representing the department, the team, whoever. And some feel like, hey, I'm not getting these opportunities, but they could be, and they could be ready. And maybe they're already ready and don't need as much training. And you haven't identified it because you haven't noticed, or maybe with that preparation, they're ready to go and they are stellar at that. So what you want to do as they're learning or as they are ready to continue to give these opportunities for them to hone and refine these skills so they can be ready. Okay. Here's an organization that I partnered with about a year ago. This is a beauty organization. And for this particular organization, they do stage events. And so they train stylists, hairstylists, celebrity, professional, high level global educators of hair cutting, of color, like whatever it is, they're the people. So they are the people that train stylists all over the globe. And they do these major global events where they'll do an event in Milan, they'll do events all over the United States, they'll do an event in Paris. And it's all teaching different techniques. And they are having to educate and keynote and host and do all of these kinds of things. So there are some people that they often would send out because they're the best at what they do, and people come to see these people educate them, and so they're stage ready. They have them, or they're stage ready. The technique and that part they were fine, but then they were noticing that the speaking and that performance aspect, and I'll say performance in terms of this organization because in a way it does kind of feel like that. They were noticing that that wasn't as strong. That wasn't as valid. That wasn't as captivating, and they were losing something. So they would give them feedback, but the feedback wouldn't land as much. And so what happened was they brought me in to train all of their celebrity artists, all of their, I'll say global artists, not celebrity artists, all the global artists on my frameworks, on my techniques, and we did demonstrations with them styling hair and practicing. So we taught frameworks, and then we did a live in-person training where they had to utilize these frameworks while they were doing stage events, and we did mock versions of that. And it allowed them to be able to utilize these skills and do it as if they were on stage. And many of them loved it. They really learned a lot in 2, 3 hours. They grew a lot in their skills. You can tell the people who obviously you always tell this were more comfortable doing it, and people who were newer and needed to work, and everybody wherever you are, the growth matters, progress matters. We all start from different places. And after the session, I talked with the organizers who were both directors of education and content, and I was, hey, this I thought it went well, and we talked about feedback, who may need more of what, and they told me they're like, there are many people who want this opportunity, but they're not ready, and they need to show us that they're ready. And I was like, well, that makes sense because you don't want to send anybody out that's not ready if you're doing a major global event where there are thousands of people watching them, and you don't want to set them up for this. But then I was like, do you have a training program where they know what they need to be ready and they're able to train and learn these skills to be stage ready? And they were like, no, we don't. And I'm like, how are they gonna know? Right? How are they gonna know what exactly, you can imitate and you can know, but for an organization, you can set those standards. You set those standards and you make sure that you provide them opportunity to learn and grow so that they can be ready and they can be available. And for those people that you have already been sending out and maybe you've noticed, okay, they need some more support, then that means that, hey, maybe they needed more support before or during that, and you should continue to be supporting them throughout, because just because somebody is really good, just like I said, just because somebody is really strong at what they do does not mean that they are a solid, really good speaker. And everybody can use the support because I believe that speaking is a skill. Speaking with confidence is a skill that we grow and we build over time. Even the most seasoned speakers need some more support. And so don't shortchange your leaders. Don't shortchange your talent with leaving this part out. You really want that. Yeah? Let me check the chat and see what y'all are saying while I'm in here. Yes. Yeah. Nana is saying 75%. Wow. Yeah. 75%. Nadia said it's so important for leaders to learn legit speaking skills and confidence. 100%. 100%. So that's what I would honestly say is the step if you are a leader, if you are, it's a different title for every organization, director of education, HR, talent, L&D. Maybe you just are leading your team and noticing at a manager level or VP level, you're noticing that there are people on your team that could use this support. Please reach out to us. We are available to talk through what your needs are and support you in that way. Maybe you are a leader that's like, hey, I need this, or I know other people on my team need this. Go tell your people, go tell your leadership to invest in that in you. Even if you don't call me, obviously it'd be great. But even if you don't call us and work with us, have them recognize that this is something important that you need to be poured into. I'm feeling the instinct to share something else because I'm just like, perhaps there is someone on this live or somebody that sees the replay that is feeling like, hey, this is me. I feel like I haven't been poured into. I feel like I am just thrown into meetings. I'm constantly hearing from my clients like, I had only 2 minutes to prepare for this meeting, and I was so overwhelmed. And I was so nervous, not because they are overwhelmed and nervous naturally, but like anybody is going to feel like that when they are thrown into a situation that they are unprepared for. Well, what I constantly have to say is, you know, there are techniques and there are strategies that you can do, and maybe we'll talk about this in a different session, how you can still prepare yourself for spontaneous communication, but ultimately, if this is continuing to happen, you can also advocate for yourself, and you can say, hey, I showed up, but I'm going to need about 5 minutes to prepare for these meetings because I want to make sure that I am not missing anything and doing my best to reach all the talking points that we need to. So if you can give me 5 minutes. Like there are different ways that you can advocate for yourself to get that time. And obviously, if you feel like you need more training, reach out. And I know there's all different conversations about budget and about is this a priority? And send them this video if they're not sure if it's a priority, because it absolutely is. Because it's one of those things that you don't know it's a challenge until it is a challenge and it's too late to do something about it. But they need to know that they should set you up to succeed. They should set you up to thrive. And this kind of investment can pay back 10 multifold. So you want to speak up and you want to ask for that support. Also, if you are a person who wants opportunities to speak and become more visible, because you know that that will obviously increase your thought leadership and really elevate your platform internally and externally, then that's also something to advocate for. But that's also something to think about, like, how am I positioning myself as a leader? How am I showing up? Am I taking on responsibilities? Am I taking on speaking opportunities as they come, or am I holding back? Am I sharing that I can do these kinds of things? Have I volunteered or put my name in the hat to speak at this offsite that they ask every year who wants to speak, or have I held myself back? Have I stepped back from that? All of those kinds of things I want you to think about, and there are opportunities for you to thrive even further if you go ahead and open your mouth, right? If you go ahead and speak. And I know sometimes for some people who like to put their head down and do good work. That's a whole other sermon for another live. We all know that you have to be intentional about your visibility within and outside of your organization. And so putting your head down and doing the work will not save you and will not necessarily keep you from things that you don't want or and give you the opportunities that you do. So really think through, like, how am I positioning myself and showing up, and can do I need training, and should I be asking for that, or should that be top of my list before anything else? And I'm going to say yes to that answer, but you know best. Okay, everyone. Well, I am so happy that you were able to join me in this conversation. I hope that everybody really thrives when they're speaking or tries their best to be strong speakers and strong leaders. If you are a person who trains talent, fill in the blank of your leadership role, HR, talent, L&D, director of education. There's so many other ones. Name them, and you feel like this is a place that there are people in your organization that would benefit from. There's a link in the chat here about how to work with us. If you are an individual that needs support, you can also reach out to that, and we can have a conversation. I will be showing up here once a month to share some things, and I also would love to know what you want to learn because I'll be here once a month. So if there's any topic that you're like, "Hey, Rhonda, we need to talk about this. We need to address this immediately." Likely, I have a word on it, and I'm happy to talk about it. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you have an incredible Tuesday, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.